Hi guys, just wanted to do a quick recap of the lesson on special right triangles. I know we talked about the rules yesterday regarding the fact that in a 45, 45, 90, your hypotenuse is whatever the leg is times the square root of 2. And of course you have two congruent legs here. So if the legs are both x, then the hypotenuse is x root 2. Now, I want to show you a way that I do this that I think would be helpful for you. And I just make this little chart. And you can do this for each problem, okay? So for each question, you can just do x root 2 for each one and just make it that way. And just to show you, I set them all up over here, but you could easily just do it here. So for example, looking at this picture, decide what you have. You have one of the legs. So the legs both go in these two spots. So we know that those two are both going to be 12. Now the hypotenuse, right, across from the 90 is going to be whatever the leg is times the square root of 2. So we know that's going to be 12 root 2. So it's 12 root 2. Okay? And you can make these little tiny tables for each one of these questions. Look at the next one. And the next one, once again, I have a leg. So that's 9 root 2. So both of these columns are going to be the same. And now I have to take whatever the leg is times the square root of 2. So I have to do 9 root 2 times root 2 because this 9 root 2 is my x. So when I multiply a root times itself, I get that number back without the radical symbol. So that's actually going to be 9 times 2, which is 18. So that x there is 18. Okay, let's look at the next one. In the next one here, you have the hypotenuse. So again, you can just set up these little tables for yourself to kind of help you, and you plug in what you have. You know you have the 6. Now, here's the deal. Whenever you move to the right, you multiply. So we moved right for those two questions. Now we're going to move left. So when we move left, we have to divide. So you're going to divide by whatever that number is. So we're going to divide that by the square root of 2. So for both of these, we're going to take 6 divided by root 2 for both. Now, we have to rationalize that. So we're going to multiply by root 2 over root 2. We get 6 root 2 over root 2 times root 2 is 4, root 4, which is 2. That cancels out, and we're left with 3 root 2. So again, you're dividing. So both of these two columns are dividing. And ultimately what you're doing is you're going to take that number, you're going to cut it in half, and you're going to multiply it by root 2. And that's going to work every single time. So if you take a look at, let's say 5, let's jump to example 5 real quick. I'll come back to 4 in a minute. But there's the idea there, right? X root 2. And I said what you're going to do is you're going to move left. So you have to divide by the square root of 2. So when you do that and you divide, you're going to take that number, you're going to cut it in half, and you're going to multiply it by root 2. So that is going to be 8 root 2 for both of those columns there. So again, you had 16. So move left, divide by the square root of 2, okay, which is the same as dividing by 2 and multiplying by root 2. So take that number, cut it in half, multiply it by root 2. And there you have your sides. Okay, let's go back to number 4. In number 4, you have the 10 root 2. You're dividing by the square root of 2. So when you take 10 root 2 and you divide, 10 root 2 and you divide by the square root of 2, the root 2's cancel out. So you're left with 10, and that makes sense because if you went right, you'd multiply by root 2, right? You'd take your x and you'd multiply by root 2, so of course that makes sense. So when it has a root 2 on it, you're just going to use the number that's in the front. All right, look at the last one on this side, number 7. So again, we have it in this column. Now, 7 is not an even number, right? So how are you going to take 7 and cut it in half and multiply it by root 2? Because ultimately, again, you're going to take that 7, divide by root 2, which is going to be the same as taking that 7, cutting it in half, and multiplying it by root 2. But you can't cut 7 in half and get a whole number, right? That would be 3.5. You cannot have a decimal with a root. This looks extremely awkward. You would not have 3.5 root 2. Decimals with radicals look weird, so that's out. We don't want that. So guess what? We're going to leave it just this way. We're going to take that number, we're going to cut it in half, we're going to multiply it by root 2. All right, so there it is there, okay? That is for the 45, 45, 90s. Let's go to the 30, 60, 90s, okay? Again, you had these rules yesterday. Hypotenuse is equal to the short leg times 2, and the long leg is equal to the short leg times root 3. So I use this little picture here where x is a short leg, x root 3 is the long leg, and 2x is the hypotenuse there. All right, so take a look at the first one. What do you have? You have the short leg, so let's plug that in over here. That's 10. Long leg is going to be short leg times root 3, and the hypotenuse is going to be 2 times the short leg, which is 20. Okay, so again, these little tables can help you. This one is a little different than the last one. Again, this is going to be a scalene right triangle, so none of the sides are going to be the same. But you can set these little tables up for yourself to be able to solve the problems. Look at the next one. In the next one, once again, you have the short leg. So let's plug that in here. Short leg times root 3, okay? And then you also want to take the short leg times 2. Now, what do you multiply by 2? You only multiply the front number by 2. So that front number there actually is the 20. Sorry, guys, the 20 times 2. So that's 40. Okay, we're going to talk more about what I just said in a minute. All right, look at this next one. We have the hypotenuse. So this was all going to the right. Now we're going to have to go left. So when we move left, we divide. So we're going to take this number. Always find the short leg first, okay? Always find short leg first. Okay, so in this case, we're going to find that. We're going to cut that in half. We're going to divide by that number. So that's 2. And then we can multiply it by root 3 for the long leg there. So the next one, we look at example 8. Same idea. In this case, we have the hypotenuse. We're going to cut that front number in half. Okay, we're going to take that 12 root 5, and we're going to cut that in half. So we're going to take that. That's going to become 6 root 5. Now we move right because we're going to go to this column. So whenever we move right, we multiply. When we move left, we divide. Here we're going to multiply. So we're going to multiply by the root 3. So in this case, you have 6 root 5 times root 3, and you're going to get 6 root 15. If you could simplify that, you would. In this case, you can't do that. All right, let's look at example 9. Again, just creating these little tables for yourself will help you stay organized, and it'll help you to remember the rules each time as well. Very easy. So in this case, you have the long leg. That's got to go in that column there. That's got to go in that column. I said you always have to find the short leg first. So we have to move backwards. We're going to divide by the square root of 3. So we're going to take that 9 and divide by root 3, which, again, we have to rationalize that. That is going to be 9 root 3 over 3, but we have to simplify. 3 goes into 9 3 times, so we get 3 root 3 for the length of that short leg. Okay, now we're going to multiply by 2. Take the short leg times 2. You always multiply the number in the front. Okay, whenever you have a number with a radical and you're multiplying by a whole number, multiply by the number in the front. So 2 times 3 is 6 root 3. Again, just to see that out, that's 6 root 3 times 2. Whole numbers always get multiplied, roots get multiplied. So those two have to get multiplied together to get that 6 root 3. So again, if you look at it, you had this one first. We divided by root 3 to get back to this, and then we're going to multiply by 2 to get to the hypotenuse. Okay, one more. In this case, we have the long leg again. Whoops, that's a 7 root 2 there. Sorry. Okay, so we're going to have to divide by the square root of 3. We're going to take that number. I keep doing that. And divide by root 3. Okay, so we have to rationalize. And when we do that on the top, remember, whole numbers get multiplied, roots get multiplied. So that's 7 root 6 over 3. Now, you can't cancel anything. That 3 is a whole number. That root 6 is not worth 6. The only numbers you could cancel would be the 3 and the 7, and of course, you can't cancel those. So the answer to this part right here for the length of the short leg, I'm going to move that over, is going to be 7 root 6 over 3. That is the length of the short leg right here, 7 root 6 over 3. Now we're going to multiply that by 2, and if you look at that, what do you multiply by 2? Well, the only thing that actually gets multiplied by 2, because I'm going to multiply this by 2 right now, it's like 2 over 1. The 7 and the 2 are the ones that get multiplied. So that becomes 14 root 6 over 3. And again, you can't simplify anything. Okay? Guys, I hope these little tables help you. It's a good idea to make them. It helps you to remember the rules. So remember, the special right triangles for the 30, 60, 90 is x root 3, 2x. And for the 45, 90s, it's x root 2. Okay? I hope this helps you with this lesson today, guys. Good luck. All right? Jump on Zoom tomorrow if you need help. Bye.